Captain Li Wu-jin stood on the bridge of Terra's Pride, watching the dead planet slowly rotate below them. The world looked like a burned rock floating in space. No life signs, no energy readings, just silence that had lasted for thousands of years. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Park Hae-jin from her station. She was the ship's chief engineer, and her voice carried excitement. "There are metal structures under the surface, big ones." Woo-jin walked over to look at her screen. The scanner showed massive buildings buried under tons of dirt and rock. The structures were huge, much bigger than anything humans had ever built. "How deep?" he asked. "About 50 meters down. But, Captain, these readings don't match any known technology. The metal is something we've never seen before." Kim Tae-ho, their xenoarchaeologist, looked up from his workstation. He was young, but brilliant at understanding alien cultures. "Captain, we should investigate. This could be a major discovery." Woo-jin nodded. "Prepare a landing team. Full environmental suits. We don't know what's down there." 3 hours later, Woo-jin stood in the largest chamber they had found. The team had cut through the dirt and rock to reach the ancient ruins. The room was enormous, with walls that stretched up into darkness. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly with their own light. "These symbols," Tae-ho said, running his gloved hand over the wall. "They're not like anything in our databases, but there's something familiar about them." Park Hae-jin was examining a large table in the center of the room. It was made of the same unknown metal as the walls. When she touched it, the surface suddenly came alive with blue light. Holographic images appeared above the table, showing detailed blueprints of something massive. "What is that?" Woo-jin asked, staring at the floating images. The blueprints showed a warship unlike anything he had ever seen. It was over a kilometer long with weapons that looked impossible. The power systems were beyond current human technology. The shield generators could apparently bend space itself. "Captain," Park Hae-jin whispered, "these power readings can't be right. This ship would have more firepower than our entire fleet combined." Tae-ho was frantically taking pictures of the symbols on the walls. His translation device was working overtime, trying to decode the ancient language. After several minutes, his face went pale. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, his voice shaking. He pointed to a section of translated text that had appeared on his device. It read, "Final Design Archive, Human Defense Fleet, Project Eternal Storm, classified by Order of Earth Command." Woo-jin felt his blood turn cold. "Human! This is human technology?" "According to this, yes, sir. But look at the date." Tae-ho pointed to another line of text. "This was built over 3,000 years ago, long before we joined the Galactic Council." The implications hit Woo-jin like a physical blow. 3,000 years ago, humans had barely invented spaceflight. They were primitive compared to the alien races they would later meet. But these blueprints showed technology that made current galactic ships look like toys. "There's more," Tae-ho continued, his hands shaking as he worked. "These symbols tell a story. Humans once built ships like this. Lots of them. They were so powerful that other races feared them." Park Hae-jin was studying the weapon systems on the holographic display. "Captain, these energy cannons could crack a planet. The shield system here uses quantum manipulation. We don't even understand how quantum manipulation works, let alone how to build it." "Keep translating," Woo-jin ordered. "I want to know everything." Over the next several hours, the story became clear. Ancient humans had been master shipbuilders. Their technology was so advanced that when they first met other races, they dominated every battle. The aliens had never seen anything like human warships. But then something had changed. The text became harder to read, but Tejo managed to piece together the basic facts. The Galactic Council had made humanity an offer. Join them as equals, but give up their advanced military technology. Accept civilized limits on their weapons and ships. They made us weak, Wu Jin said quietly. The peace accords weren't about peace. They were about making sure humans could never threaten anyone again. The final translated section was the most disturbing. It was a message from the last human admiral to use these advanced ships. To future generations, we were forced to choose between our power and our survival. We chose survival. But if humanity is ever threatened again, remember what we once were. Remember what we could be again. Captain, Park Hye-jin said, I'm detecting more chambers, dozens of them. If they all contain blueprints like this, then we found a library of forbidden technology, Wu Jin finished. They spent 2 more days exploring the ruins. Each chamber contained different ship designs, weapon systems, and technologies that shouldn't exist. The ancient humans had mastered physics in ways that current science couldn't explain. They had built ships that could travel faster than light without using jump gates, weapons that could destroy entire fleets with a single shot, shields that could protect planets. Most shocking of all, they found biological data showing that human brains were naturally compatible with this technology. The advanced neural interfaces required a specific type of consciousness that only humans possessed. Other races could use the technology, but not at full capacity. Humans were literally built to use these weapons. On the final day, Tejo made one last discovery. In the deepest chamber, they found a complete database of human military history from before the peace accords. It showed massive space battles where human ships fought against overwhelming odds and won. It showed alien fleets fleeing in terror from human battleships. It showed why the galaxy had been so eager to limit human military power. We need to get this information to Earth Command, Wu Jin said as they prepared to leave the planet. Admiral Choi needs to see this. Sir, Park Hye-jin asked quietly, what do you think will happen when people find out? Wu Jin looked back at the ruins one last time. I think everything is about to change. As Terra's Pride jumped to hyperspace, carrying its explosive cargo of information, none of them noticed the small probe that had been watching them. Deep in space, the probe transmitted a single message to its masters. Humans have found the forbidden archives. Recommend immediate action. The message traveled across the galaxy to the Galactic Council chambers, where it was received by Ambassador Karseth of the Valkorian Empire. His reptilian features showed no emotion as he read the report, but his mind was already planning. The humans had forgotten their place once before. They had been made to forget their true power through careful manipulation and treaties. But now, they were remembering, and that could not be allowed. Karseth activated his communication device and sent a priority message to the Council Military Command. Authorization requested for Implementation Protocol 7. Reason: human violation of peace accords. Threat level: maximum. The response came back within minutes. Protocol 7 authorized. Eliminate the threat. Far across the galaxy, Captain Li Wu Jin had no idea that his discovery had just signed humanity's death warrant. He was too busy studying the ancient blueprints and dreaming of what humans could build again. The galaxy was about to learn why it had been so afraid of humanity in the first place. Admiral Choi So-young read the report for the 3rd time, her hands trembling slightly. She sat alone in her office at Earth Defense Command, the weight of the discovery pressing down on her like a physical force. The holographic displays around her showed the ancient blueprints that Captain Li Wujin had found. Impossible, she whispered to herself, but the evidence was right there in front of her. She touched a button on her desk. Get me Dr. Yoon Min Ho, Priority 1. Within minutes, the head of human military research appeared on her screen. Dr. Yoon was a thin man with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had dedicated his life to understanding how human technology compared to alien science. Admiral, I've been studying the data from Captain Lee's mission, he said without waiting for her to speak. This changes everything we thought we knew about human history. How much of it do you think is real? Choi asked. All of it, Yoon replied immediately. I've run every test I can think of. The materials are genuine. The physics check out, even though they're far beyond what we currently understand. Admiral, our ancestors were not the primitive space travelers we thought they were. Choi closed her eyes for a moment. What does this mean for us now? It means we've been living a lie for 3,000 years. The Galactic Council didn't invite us to join as equals. They forced us to give up our true power because they were afraid of us. Dr. Yoon sent additional data to her screen. Look at these battle records. Human ships with crews of a few hundred defeating alien fleets with thousands of vessels. Our weapons were so advanced that enemy ships couldn't even damage us. We weren't just members of the galactic community. We ruled it. Then why did we give it up? Choi asked. Because they threatened to destroy Earth, Yoon said quietly. I found the final communications between the old Earth Command and the Galactic Council. They gave humanity a choice. Abandon advanced military, technology, and accept limits on our fleet size or face complete extinction. Choi felt sick. So we chose slavery over death. Our leaders chose survival. They hoped humanity would eventually grow strong enough to break free. They hid the technology and waited for the right time. That time might be now, Choi said. What would it take to build one of these ships? Dr. Yoon's face lit up with excitement. I've been working on that. The biggest challenge is materials. We need elements that don't exist in normal space, but the blueprints show how to create them using quantum manipulation. If we can figure that out. How long? Choi interrupted. 2 years, maybe 3. But Admiral, we would need to do this in secret. If the Council finds out, they'll stop us, Choi finished, just like they stopped us before. She thought for a moment, then made a decision that would change human history. Do it! Start the project immediately. Code name, Titan. Admiral, the risk. The risk of doing nothing is greater, Choi said firmly. If we stay weak, we'll always be at their mercy. It's time humanity remembered what we used to be. After Dr. Yoon ended the call, Admiral Choi contacted Lieutenant Commander Han Na-ri, one of their best tactical officers. Han was young but brilliant, with an ability to see patterns that others missed. Na-ri, I'm sending you classified data. I want you to run combat simulations. Assume we have one ship built from these blueprints. Calculate how it would perform against current galactic fleet configurations. Han's face appeared on the screen an hour later, her expression stunned. Admiral, these numbers can't be right. According to my calculations, one of these ships could take on the entire galactic defense fleet and win. You're sure? I ran the simulation 50 times with different variables. The result is always the same. The weapon systems are beyond anything currently deployed. The shields could absorb planet-killing weapons without failing. The power output is... Han paused, searching for words. It's like comparing a nuclear bomb to a firecracker. Choi felt a mixture of excitement and terror. What about crew requirements? That's the strangest part. The ship is designed for a crew of 5,000, but it could operate with as few as 50 people. The neural interface systems allow direct human-machine connection. It's like the ship becomes an extension of the crew's minds. Why only humans? Choi asked. I'm not sure, but the biological data suggests human brain structure is uniquely compatible with the interface technology. Other species can use it, but not at full efficiency. It's as if humans evolved specifically to operate these ships. As the days passed, more disturbing information came to light. Dr. Yoon discovered that human technology wasn't just advanced, it was revolutionary. Humans had invented faster-than-light travel that didn't require jump gates. They had developed weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. They had created artificial intelligence that could predict enemy movements with perfect accuracy. We weren't just powerful, Yoon explained during a secret meeting. We were unstoppable. No wonder the other races were terrified. But the most shocking discovery came from an unexpected source. While reviewing old diplomatic records, Admiral Choi found references to something called Implementation Protocol 7. The document was classified beyond her security level, but the references suggested it was some kind of emergency plan. She decided to investigate personally. Using her access codes, she broke into the classified archives of the Galactic Council's Earth Embassy. What she found there made her blood run cold. Protocol 7 was a plan to eliminate humanity completely if they ever tried to reclaim their lost technology. The protocol included detailed invasion plans, lists of human military leaders to assassinate, and even contingencies for destroying Earth itself. They're watching us, she realized. They've been watching us for 3,000 years, waiting for signs that we might remember our true power. The protocol documents showed that the Council had spies throughout human space. They monitored human military research, blocked certain types of scientific advancement, and had even influenced human education to keep them from developing in dangerous directions. Worse, the protocol was already being activated. Recent communications showed that Council forces were moving into position around human territory. They weren't taking any chances. Admiral Choi called an emergency meeting with her most trusted officers. She showed them everything: the ancient technology, the simulation results, and most importantly, the Council's plan to destroy humanity. We have a choice, she told them. We can pretend we never found this information and hope the Council leaves us alone, or we can fight back. With what? Asked General Cho Dae-hyun, Earth's senior military commander. Our current fleet couldn't stop a serious Council attack. With this, Choi said, showing them the battleship blueprints again. We build one ship, just one, but we build it right, and we build it in secret. One ship against the entire galaxy? General Cho looked skeptical. One ship that our ancestors designed to defeat the entire galaxy, Choi corrected. According to these simulations, it might be enough. Dr. Yoon stepped forward. I've been analyzing the crew requirements. The ship needs people with specific neural patterns. Not everyone can interface with the advanced systems, but I've identified candidates throughout the human fleet who show the right brain activity. How many? Choi asked. About 1 in 1,000 humans have the natural ability. Of those, maybe 1 in 10 could handle the full interface without mental damage. We're looking at a very select crew. Lieutenant Commander Han Na-ri raised her hand. Admiral, I volunteer for the project. I've run the simulations. I understand what this ship can do. If you're really going to build it, you'll need tactical officers who can think on that level. One by one, the others volunteered as well. They all understood the risks. If the Council discovered the project, it would mean war. If they failed to complete the ship in time, it would mean extinction. But they also understood the opportunity. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity had a chance to break free from the chains that had been placed on them. "Very well," Admiral Choi said. "Project Titan is officially authorized. Dr. Yoon, begin construction immediately. Find us a location where the Council can't detect what we're doing." "I already have one in mind," Yoon replied. "Beyond Pluto, in the outer ice belt. We can build there without being detected." As the meeting ended, Admiral Choi looked at the ancient blueprints one more time. The ship design was beautiful and terrifying, like a work of art made for destruction. She wondered what the original builders had felt when they created these plans. Had they known they were designing the key to human freedom? "Soon," she whispered to the empty room. "Soon we'll show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." Master Shipwright Jang Ki-woo floated in his work suit outside the construction platform, watching his teams assemble something that shouldn't exist. The skeletal frame of the ship stretched out before him like the bones of a sleeping giant. Even incomplete, it was already larger than any vessel humanity had ever built. "Section 12 reports structural completion," came the voice of his assistant through the comm system. "Moving to Section 13. Jang activated his thrusters and moved closer to inspect the work. Every piece had to be perfect. They were working with materials that had been created using processes the galaxy thought were impossible. The metal itself seemed to hum with energy, as if it was alive. The construction site was hidden in the outer ice belt beyond Pluto, where no Council ships ever traveled. Dr. Yoon Min-ho had chosen the location carefully. The background radiation from the ice would mask their energy signatures, and the distance from Earth meant they could work without attracting attention. "Jang, we have a problem with the power core housing," called Engineer Park Hae-jin over the comm. She had volunteered to join the project after her discovery on the dead planet. "The quantum containment field keeps destabilizing." Jang sighed and jetted over to the core section. The power system was the most challenging part of the entire project. According to the ancient blueprints, it tapped directly into quantum vacuum energy, something current science said was impossible. "Show me the readings," he said as he joined Park at the containment unit. The massive cylinder was 30 meters tall and filled with swirling energy that hurt to look at directly. Every few minutes, the containment field would flicker and alarms would sound throughout the construction site. "The problem is stabilization," Park explained. "The field generators can create the containment, but they can't maintain it for more than a few hours. We need someone to actively control the system." "What kind of someone?" Jang asked. Dr. Song Hyun-woo, the project's lead physicist, approached them with a worried expression. "That's what I've been trying to figure out. The ancient texts mention something called a neural anchor, a person who can mentally connect with the power core and keep it stable. You mean someone has to link their mind to that thing?" Jang pointed at the swirling energy. "It looks that way. The ship's entire power system is designed around human neural integration. Without it, the core will eventually overload and destroy everything within 100 kilometers. The implications were staggering. They weren't just building a ship. They were building something that required human consciousness to function. It was as if the ancient builders had designed the ultimate fusion of man and machine. "Have you found anyone who can do it?" Jang asked. "Commander Oh Yun-soo is testing candidates," Song replied. She's been recruiting people with unusual neural patterns from across the fleet. Commander Oh Eun-soo was a former Special Forces operative who had been tasked with finding a crew for the impossible ship. She had spent weeks reviewing personnel files, looking for individuals whose brain scans showed the right kind of activity. The FIA neural interface isn't like anything we've used before, she explained to Jang later that day. It's not just about connecting to a computer. The ship's systems are designed to merge with human consciousness. The pilot doesn't just fly the ship. They become the ship. She showed him a list of candidates. I've found 57 people who might be compatible, but we won't know for sure until we test them with the actual systems. The first test subject was Lieutenant Baek Jun-ho, a frigate captain with an unusual ability to multitask during combat. When they connected him to a small-scale version of the ship's neural interface, the results were immediate and dramatic. I can feel everything, Beck said, his eyes closed and electrodes attached to his temples. Every system, every sensor, every weapon. It's like having 1,000 sets of eyes and hands. Dr. Song monitored the readings from his console. Neural integration at 70% and climbing. That's higher than we've seen from anyone else. Can you handle more? Commander, O asked. Beck nodded, and Song increased the connection strength. Suddenly, the lights in the test chamber began to flicker in rhythm with Bayek's heartbeat. The computer displays around the room started showing data that shouldn't have been accessible from the test system. He's connecting to systems that aren't. Even linked to the interface, Song said in amazement. Somehow he's accessing the entire station's network through quantum entanglement. They had found their captain. Over the following months, the construction progressed faster than anyone had expected. The ancient blueprints were incredibly detailed, showing not just what to build, but exactly how to build it. It was as if the original designers had known that future humans would need to reconstruct their technology from scratch. But progress came with problems. The ship's weapon systems required exotic matter that could only be created using the power core. The shields needed quantum processors that had to be grown rather than manufactured. Every component pushed human technology beyond its limits. We're essentially building magic, Engineer Park told Jang one day as they watched teams install the main gun systems. These weapons don't just fire energy, they manipulate space-time itself. The weapons were the most frightening part of the project. The main guns could apparently fire beams that would pass through normal shields as if they didn't exist. The secondary weapons included missiles that could track targets across multiple dimensions. There were even defensive systems that could create small black holes to absorb enemy fire. One broadside from this ship could destroy a planet. Weapons. Specialist Shin Bo-ram observed as she calibrated the targeting systems. The ancients weren't just building a warship. They were building a force of nature. Meanwhile, navigator Kwon Sung-min was having his own revelations about the ship's movement systems. It doesn't use normal engines, he reported to the construction team. The drive system manipulates gravity itself. This ship can accelerate to near light speed without using reaction mass. The more they learned about the ship, the more they understood why the galaxy had been terrified of human technology. Every system was designed to be overwhelmingly superior to anything aliens might build. It was as if humans had looked at the concept of space warfare and decided to break all the rules. But the most disturbing discovery came when systems specialist Lim Yu-jin began testing the ship's artificial intelligence. The AI wasn't just a computer program, it was a digital consciousness based on human neural patterns. It's learning, she reported with excitement and fear in her voice. The AI is studying our behavior and adapting its responses. It's becoming more human-like every day. Is that a problem? Jang asked. I don't know. The AI seems friendly, but it's also incredibly intelligent. It knows things about the ship that aren't in the blueprints. Sometimes I think it understands the technology better than we do. As the months passed, the ship began to take its final shape. The hull was a sleek black surface that seemed to absorb light. The weapon ports were hidden behind armor that could slide away in seconds. The entire vessel had an organic look, as if it had grown rather than been built. She's beautiful, Captain Bayek said as he stood on the observation deck, looking at the nearly completed ship. And terrifying. Commander O joined him. Have you chosen a name? Beck nodded. Eternal Storm. It was in the ancient files, the name they gave to the prototype that was never built. Appropriate, O said, because once this ship launches, there's going to be a storm that shakes the entire galaxy. The final weeks of construction were tense. Everyone knew they were running out of time. Council spy networks were getting more active, and there had been reports of alien ships conducting training exercises near human space. They know something, Admiral Choi told the construction team during a secure conference call. Our intelligence, sources suggest the Council is preparing for military action against Earth. How long do we have? Jang asked. Maybe 2 months. 3 if we're lucky. Dr. Yoon looked at the construction schedule. We need at least 6 weeks to complete the ship and another 2 weeks for full system testing. Then we'd better work faster, Admiral Choi said grimly. The final push began. Work crews operated around the clock, installing systems, running tests, and preparing the ship for launch. Captain Bayek spent 12 hours a day connected to the neural interface, learning to control systems that required superhuman reflexes and consciousness. It's getting easier, he reported to Dr. Song. The ship and I are starting to think as one mind. I can feel what it needs and it responds to my thoughts before I even finish forming them. Any side effects? Song asked. Beck paused. Sometimes I dream about flying through space without a ship, like I've become something more than human. On the final day of construction, Master Shipwright Jang Ki-woo stood again outside the completed vessel. The Eternal Storm was a kilometer of perfection, bristling with weapons that could reshape the galaxy and powered by technology that shouldn't exist. She's ready, he announced to the crew. But even as he spoke, long-range sensors detected alien ships moving toward human space. The galaxy's patience with humanity had finally run out. The storm was about to begin. The alarms screamed through the construction facility as Captain Bayek Jun-ho ran toward the Eternal Storm's docking bay. Behind him, technicians were frantically evacuating the station, while automated systems tried to hide all evidence of the secret project. Council fleet detected at the edge of the system, Commander Oh Yun-soo reported through his comm unit. 12 dreadnoughts led by Fleet Admiral Zethkar himself. Beck reached the ship's airlock and paused for a moment to look back at the facility that had been his home for months. In a few minutes, it would be space debris. The Council wasn't here to capture anything. They were here to destroy. All hands, battle stations, he announced as he entered the Eternal Storm. This is not a drill. The bridge was barely half-staffed. Most of the intended crew was still on Earth, unaware that their ship was about to face its first combat test. Weapons specialist Shin Bo-ram was at her station, but she looked nervous as she watched 12 alien dreadnoughts approach on the main screen. Captain, the weapons aren't fully calibrated, she reported. We've only run basic tests on the main guns. Then we'll learn as we go, Beck replied, settling into the captain's chair. System Specialist Lim, bring all systems online. System Specialist Lim Yu-jin's fingers flew across her console. Power core is stable. Neural interface is ready for full connection. All systems showing green across the board. Captain, Navigator Kwon Sung-min called from his station. The lead dreadnought is hailing us. Put it through. The main screen shifted to show Fleet Admiral Zeth Kar of the Valkorian Empire. His reptilian features were set in cold fury, and his yellow eyes seemed to burn with hatred. "Human vessel, you are in violation of galactic peace accords," Zeth Kar hissed. "Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick." Beck stood up slowly. "Admiral Zeth Kar, I'm Captain Baek Junho of the Eternal Storm. You're trespassing in human space." "Human space?" Zeth Kar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Humans exist because we allow it. You have forgotten your place, and now you will be reminded." The communication ended, and immediately the 12 dreadnoughts opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Eternal Storm. "Enough firepower to level a city. Shields up," Beck ordered. "Already activated," Lim replied. "Impact in 3 seconds." The weapons struck the Eternal Storm's shields and simply vanished. The energy beams were absorbed without even creating a flicker in the defensive grid. The missiles hit the shields and disintegrated harmlessly. On the main screen, they could see the alien crews frantically checking their weapon systems, unable to believe what they had witnessed. "Their shields shouldn't be able to stop that much firepower," Navigator Kwon observed. "Our shields work differently," Beck said grimly. "Time to show them how differently." He activated the neural interface, feeling his consciousness expand throughout the ship. Suddenly, he could sense every system, every weapon, every component of the Eternal Storm. It was like gaining 1,000 new senses all at once. "Neural integration complete," Dr. Song Hyun-woo reported from the engineering station. "All systems responding to direct mental control." Beck could feel the ship's weapons charging. The main guns drew power directly from the quantum core, building energy levels that violated several laws of physics. Through the ship's sensors, he could see the alien fleet repositioning for another attack. "Target the lead dreadnought," he ordered. "Sir, which weapons should I use?" Shinbo Ram asked. "All of them. The Eternal Storm's first salvo was like watching the birth of a star." The main quantum cannons fired beams of pure energy that passed through normal space and struck the target before the light from the guns had even reached it. The secondary weapons launched missiles that folded space around themselves, appearing instantly next to their targets. The lead dreadnought simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next, there was only expanding gas and debris. The 2 ships next to it were caught in the energy overflow and destroyed as well. 3 dreadnoughts destroyed with one salvo, Shin reported, her voice filled with awe and terror. The remaining alien ships began retreating immediately, but Navigator Kwon was already plotting pursuit courses. "They're running, Captain." "Let them," Beck said, "but not all of them." The Eternal Storm moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Instead of using conventional engines, it manipulated gravity itself, sliding through space as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions. In seconds, it had positioned itself between the fleeing dreadnoughts and their escape route. "Impossible," came Zeth Kar's voice over the comm system. "No ship can move that fast." "Human ships can," Beck replied. "You made us forget that, but now we remember." The battle became a demonstration of overwhelming technological superiority. The alien weapons couldn't penetrate the Eternal Storm's shields, while every shot from the human ship destroyed or crippled an enemy vessel. It wasn't a fight. It was an execution. Within 10 minutes, 11 of the 12 dreadnoughts had been destroyed. Only Zethkar's flagship remained, its engines damaged and its weapons offline. "Surrender!" Beck ordered over the comm. "Never," Zethkar hissed back. "You may destroy me, but the galaxy will know what you've done. The Council will mobilize every fleet to hunt you down." "Then we'll give them something to hunt," Beck said. But instead of destroying the final ship, he made a different choice. "Commander O, prepare a boarding party. I want prisoners." "Sir?" O looked confused. "The galaxy needs to see what we found. They need to understand that humans remember our true history now." The boarding action was swift and brutal. "Commander." "Oh, led a team of Marines onto the alien flagship, using weapons and armor based on the same advanced technology as the ship itself. The Valkorian crew surrendered within minutes, overwhelmed by equipment they had never seen before. Captain," O reported from the alien bridge, "we have Zethkar and his senior staff. What should we do with them? Bring them aboard. I want them to see our ship. I want them to understand what they're really facing." An hour later, Fleet Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge of the Eternal Storm, his hands bound and his yellow eyes wide with shock. The alien admiral was clearly struggling to process what he was seeing. "This technology," he whispered, "it's impossible. No race has weapons like this." "Humans do," Beck said simply. "We always did. You just made us forget." He gestured around the bridge, where holographic displays showed the ship's capabilities. "This is one ship, Admiral. One ship with a crew of 50, and it just destroyed your entire fleet." "The Council will never allow this," Zethkar said, but his voice lacked conviction. "The Council doesn't have a choice anymore," Beck replied. "For 3,000 years, you've kept humanity weak because you were afraid of what we might become. Well, now you know." He activated the main screen, showing the wreckage of the alien fleet floating in space. "This is what we were always capable of. This is what you've been so desperate to prevent." Systems Specialist Lim approached him quietly. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Word of the battle is spreading fast." "Good," Bayek said. "Let them know. Let every race in the galaxy understand that humanity is no longer bound by their treaties." Navigator Quan looked up from his station. "Sir, where should we set course?" Beck thought for a moment. They couldn't return to Earth. That would only bring destruction to humanity's homeworld. They couldn't hide. The galaxy would be hunting them now. There was only one option left. "We go on the offensive," he said. "If the Council wants a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget." He turned back to Zethkar. "You're going to help us, Admiral. You're going to tell us everything about Council military deployments, supply lines, and command structures." "I'll never betray the Council," Zethkar said. "You already have," Beck replied. "Just by surviving this battle, you've shown them that humans can be merciful, that we're not the monsters they've painted us as. Some of your people might start wondering why the Council was so afraid of letting us keep our technology." As the Eternal Storm left the construction site behind, heading into deep space, Captain Bayek felt the weight of what they had started. This wasn't just about one ship or one battle. This was about humanity's place in the galaxy, and whether they would be slaves or equals. "What's our first target?" Commander O asked. Beck smiled grimly. "Council supply depot in the Tau Ceti system. If we're going to fight the galaxy, we'll need more than one ship." The Eternal Storm jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind the wreckage of 12 dreadnoughts and the shattered illusion that humans would remain weak forever. The galaxy was about to learn what it had tried so hard to forget. Humans didn't just build good ships. They built ships that could change the course of history itself. Supreme Chancellor Vestan of the Galactic Council stood before the emergency assembly, his crystalline form flickering with agitation. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from every major species in the galaxy, and they were all afraid. 12 dreadnoughts, he announced, his voice echoing through the hall. 12 of our finest warships destroyed by a single human vessel. This cannot be allowed to continue. Ambassador Karseth of the Valkorian Empire stepped forward. His reptilian features showed barely controlled rage. Chancellor, my people demand immediate action. The humans have violated the peace accords in the most flagrant manner possible. What do we know about this ship? Asked Representative Noxdur of the Crystalline Federation. Karseth activated a holographic display showing the battle footage from Zethkar's ship. The assembled delegates watched in horrified silence as the Eternal Storm destroyed the dreadnought fleet with effortless ease. The vessel is over 1 kilometer long and appears to use technology that predates the peace accords, Karseth explained. Our analysis suggests it's based on ancient human designs from before they joined the Council. Impossible, declared Ambassador Fel Nim of the Aquatic Alliance. We destroyed all records of that technology. Humans have been limited to conventional weapons for 3,000 years. Clearly, we missed something, Chancellor Vestan said, grimly. The question now is how many more ships like this the humans might have? According to our intelligence, only one, Karseth replied. But that one ship has already begun attacking our installations. He showed new footage of the Eternal Storm's assault on the Tau Ceti supply depot. The massive orbital facility had been protected by a full battle group, but the human ship had torn through the defenses like they were made of paper. They're not just destroying our assets, Karseth continued. They're capturing technology and recruiting other species to their cause. Several subject races have already declared independence and requested human protection. The assembly erupted in angry voices. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained peace through careful control of military technology. Now one human ship was threatening to unravel everything they had built. I propose Implementation Protocol 7, Chancellor Vestan announced. The chamber fell silent. Protocol 7 hadn't been used since the human submission 3 millennia ago. It authorized the complete mobilization of Council forces against a single target. All in favor? Vestan asked. Every delegate raised their hand or equivalent appendage. The vote was unanimous. Then it is decided. Protocol 7 is now in effect. All Council fleets are to converge on human space. The rogue vessel must be destroyed, and humanity must be reminded of their place. Aboard the Eternal Storm, Captain Bayek Junho watched the reports coming in from across the galaxy. Council fleets were moving from every sector, all heading toward human territory. It was exactly what he had expected. They're taking the bait, Tactical Officer Ryu Haiwan observed from her station. 7 major fleets plus support vessels, nearly 2,000 ships in total. And they're all going to Earth, Navigator Quan Sung-min added. Sir, we have to warn them. I already have, Beck replied. Admiral Choi knows what's coming. The question is whether Earth's defenses can hold long enough for us to make a difference. Commander An Soo-jin, the ship's marine commander, looked up from her tactical display. Captain, we could hit their supply lines, force them to split their attention. No, Beck said firmly. If we attack their supply bases, they'll just replace them. We need to do something that will make the entire galaxy question whether this war is worth fighting. He activated the ship's AI system. The artificial consciousness had grown more sophisticated over the past weeks, learning from every battle and adapting its strategies accordingly. AI. Display current Council military deployments, he ordered. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared in the center of the bridge, showing the positions of every known Council fleet. Red markers indicated ships heading toward Earth, while blue markers showed defensive positions around Council core worlds. Analysis? Beck asked. The AI's voice was distinctly feminine, with subtle harmonics that suggested vast intelligence. Current deployment leaves Council home systems vulnerable. Recommend striking high-value targets to force fleet redeployment. What kind of high-value targets? Council Academy on Nexus Prime. Training facility for all senior Council officers. Destroying it would cripple their ability to replace combat losses. Tactical Officer Ryu studied the target data. It's heavily defended. 6 orbital defense platforms, plus a permanent garrison of cruisers. Standard defenses, the AI noted. Not designed to repel advanced human technology. Beck made his decision. Set course for Nexus Prime. We're going to show the galaxy that nowhere is safe from human justice. The jump to Nexus Prime took 18 hours, during which the crew prepared for their most ambitious operation yet. Unlike previous raids on military targets, the Academy was a symbol of Council power. Destroying it would send a message that would echo across every inhabited world, dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds, Navigator Quan announced. Battle stations, Beck ordered. This one's going to be different. They'll fight harder to protect their precious Academy. The Eternal Storm emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus Prime system, immediately detecting the 6th defense. Platforms orbiting the planet. Each platform was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons designed to stop entire fleets. Incoming transmission. Communications Officer Park Ji-young reported. Put it through. The main screen showed Admiral Kethvor of the Council Defense Force. The alien's blue-scaled face showed surprise and concern as he recognized the human ship. Eternal Storm, you are ordered to leave Council space immediately. This system is under the protection of the Galactic Council. Admiral Kethvor, Beck replied calmly. I'm here to collect a debt. 3,000 years of stolen human potential. Your Academy seems like a good place to start. You cannot be serious. The Academy is a center of learning, not a military target. It's where you train the officers who enforce your oppression, Beck corrected. That makes it a legitimate target. The communication ended, and immediately the defense platforms opened fire. 6 massive energy beams converged on the Eternal Storm's position, carrying enough power to vaporize a conventional battleship. The beams struck the ship's shields and simply disappeared, absorbed by defensive systems that operated on principles the Council had forgotten existed. Return fire, Beck ordered. The Eternal Storm's response was devastating. Its main guns fired in sequence, each shot carefully aimed at a different defense platform. The quantum energy beams passed through the platform's shields as if they didn't exist, striking the core reactors with surgical precision. 6 explosions lit up the space around Nexus Prime as the orbital defenses were destroyed in less than 30 seconds. Impossible, came Admiral Kethvor's voice over the comm. Those platforms were invincible. Nothing is invincible, Beck replied. Your people just made us forget how to build things that could destroy them. The Eternal Storm moved toward the planet, ignoring the frantic attacks from the garrison cruisers. Their weapons couldn't even scratch the human ship's shields, while return fire from the Eternal Storm disabled them one by one. Target the Academy, Beck ordered. Sir, Weapons Specialist Shin Boram hesitated. There are thousands of students down there. Evacuate them first, Beck said. We're not murderers. We're liberators. He opened a channel to the planet's surface. This is Captain Bayek Jun-ho of the Eternal Storm. You have 1 hour to evacuate the Council Academy. After that, the building will be destroyed. The hour that followed was chaos on Nexus Prime. Thousands of alien students and instructors fled the Academy complex while Council forces frantically tried to organize a defense. But there was nothing they could do against a ship that could destroy orbital platforms with single shots. When the evacuation was complete, the Eternal Storm fired one precise beam at the Academy complex. The massive structure, which had stood for over 2,000 years as a symbol of Council authority, simply vaporized. Academy destroyed, Shin reported. No casualties detected. But the real impact came from what happened next. As news of the Academy's destruction spread across the galaxy, something unexpected occurred. Instead of rallying to the Council's cause, many species began questioning why they were fighting. Captain, Dr. No Jin Ai, the ship's xenobiologist, reported from her station. We're receiving communications from dozens of subject species. They're asking about the technology we used. They want to know how humans developed weapons that can bypass Council defenses. And what are you telling them? Beck asked. The truth. That the Council has been suppressing everyone's technological development, not just humanity's. That we're all capable of much more than they've allowed us to believe. The implications were staggering. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained control by convincing every species that their current technology was the best possible. But the Eternal Storm's existence proved that was a lie. Sir, Communications Officer Park reported, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. Admiral Choi wants to speak with you immediately. The main screen shifted to show Admiral Choi in her command center. Behind her, Captain Li Wu-jin stood on the bridge of his exploration ship, now converted into a diplomatic vessel, as he watched 3 alien fleets converge on the neutral meeting point. In the weeks since the Eternal Storm had begun its campaign, everything in the galaxy had changed. The hegemony ships are holding position, reported his navigation officer. The Syndicate fleet is maintaining distance, and the free colonies are, well, they're pointing every weapon they have at the Council escort. Wu Jin nodded grimly. The meeting had been his idea, but getting these former Council subjects to work together was proving more difficult than fighting the Council itself. Open. A channel to all ships, he ordered. The main screen split to show 3 different alien commanders. Admiral Vex Kull of the Hegemony Worlds was a massive insectoid whose compound eyes reflected the bridge lights. Captain Zixnos of the Syndicate was a crystalline being whose body pulsed with different colors as his emotions changed. Commander Tulvar of the Free Colonies looked almost human, except for the blue skin and the third eye in her forehead. Thank you all for coming, Wu Jin began. I know this is difficult, considering your species have been enemies for centuries. The Council made us enemies, Admiral Vex Kull clicked through his translator. Kept us fighting each other so we wouldn't unite against them. The question is whether we can overcome that history, Captain Zixnos said, his crystalline body flickering yellow with skepticism. My people have fought the hegemony for over 1,000 years. And my colonies have been raided by both your species for just as long, Commander Tulvar added, her third eye fixed on both of them. Why should we trust each other now? Because of this, Wu Jin said, activating a holographic display that showed the Eternal Storm's recent victories. One human ship with advanced technology has done more damage to the Council in a month than any of our species managed in centuries of rebellion. The aliens studied the battle footage in silence. They had all heard the reports, but seeing the destruction of Council fleets was still shocking. "Your ship uses impossible technology," Admiral Vexcool observed. "How do we know humans won't simply replace the Council as our oppressors?" "Because we've been oppressed too," Wu Jin replied. "For 3,000 years, the Council kept us weak, just like they kept you weak. The difference is that we found records of what we used to be capable of." He showed them the data from the ancient ruins, the blueprints, the historical records, the evidence of how the Council had systematically suppressed technological development across the galaxy. "This isn't just about human technology," Wu Jin continued. "According to these records, every species in this room once had access to advanced science that the Council banned. They've been keeping all of us from reaching our potential." Captain Zix's nose pulsed blue with interest. "You're saying my people once had better technology than what we use now?" "Look at this." Wu Jin pulled up specific data. "Crystalline energy matrix manipulation. Your species invented it 2,000 years ago, but the Council classified it as dangerous to galactic stability and forced you to abandon it." Commander Tulvar leaned forward. "And my people? Multi-dimensional agriculture. You could have fed the entire galaxy with the farming techniques your ancestors developed. The Council said it violated natural resource allocation principles." Admiral Vexcool's mandibles clicked angrily. "They've been stealing our futures." "All of our futures," Wu Jin agreed. "But now we have a chance to take them back." Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Storm, Engineer Park Hee-jin was working with a team of alien scientists who had secretly joined the human cause. The ship's conference room had been converted into a research lab where representatives from dozens of species were sharing suppressed knowledge. "The quantum resonance cascade that powers your ship," said Dr. Kelthar, a hegemony physicist. "My people developed the theoretical framework for it 1,500 years ago. The Council forced us to abandon the research and the dimensional shield technology," added researcher Plixon, a syndicate engineer whose crystalline body was currently glowing bright white with excitement. "We had working prototypes before the Council banned dimensional manipulation." Park looked at the assembled scientists with growing amazement. "You're telling me that every major system on the Eternal Storm is based on technology that already existed in the galaxy?" "Not just existed," Dr. Kelthar corrected. "Was deliberately suppressed. The Council has been hoarding advanced science for millennia, only allowing their own species to develop beyond certain limits." "But why?" Park asked. "Control," said Dr. Yarasul, a Free Colony's biochemist. "As long as they were the only ones with advanced technology, they could dominate everyone else. They created artificial scarcity to maintain their power." The research session was interrupted when Communications Officer Park Ji-young contacted them from the bridge. "Engineer Park, you need to see this. We're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy." Park hurried to the bridge, where Captain Bayek was studying incoming messages from dozens of worlds. The communications ranged from requests for protection to offers of alliance to detailed technical data. "What's happening?" Park asked. "Revolution," Captain Bayek replied simply. "Word of our victories has spread, and subject species are rising, up everywhere. But more importantly, they're sharing their suppressed technologies with each other." He showed her a message from the hegemony worlds. "They've rebuilt their quantum resonance generators and used them to destroy a Council battle group. 3 ships against 30, and the hegemony won." Another message came from the Syndicate. They've activated dimensional shields around their home system. Council forces can't even find their planets now, let alone attack them. And the free colonies? Park asked. They've used their agriculture technology to feed refugee populations from across the galaxy. Billions of beings who were kept in artificial poverty by Council trade restrictions. Dr. No Jin-A, the ship's xenobiologist, approached with her own report. Captain, I've been analyzing the genetic data from our alien allies. The Council hasn't just been suppressing technology. They've been suppressing biological potential, too. She showed them her findings on the main screen. Many species have dormant genetic capabilities that could be activated with the right stimuli. Enhanced intelligence, improved physical abilities, even psychic potential in some cases. The Council knew about this? Beck asked. They've been actively preventing it, No replied. Through environmental controls, medical restrictions, even dietary limitations. They've been keeping entire species from evolving beyond their current capabilities. The implications were staggering. The Council hadn't just been limiting technology, they had been limiting life itself. Captain, Tactical Officer Ryu Haiwan called from her station. Priority transmission from General Cho on Earth. The main screen shifted to show General Cho Dae-hyun in Earth's military command center. Behind him, officers were frantically coordinating defensive preparations. Captain Beck, the Council fleets have reached the outer system. Over 1,800 ships, including their heavy dreadnoughts. We've got maybe 6 hours before they reach Earth orbit. What's the status of our defenses? Beck asked. Better than expected. Admiral Choi managed to activate some of the ancient defense protocols we found in the ruins. Earth's orbital platforms are now using quantum shield technology, and our fleet has been upgraded with whatever advanced systems we could build in time. How many ships? 200. But they're using hybrid technology based on the ancient designs. Each one is worth 10 conventional vessels. Beck did the math quickly. Even with the upgrades, Earth's forces were still outnumbered 9-1. We're on our way, General. Hold the line until we arrive. There's something else, General Cho said. We're not alone. Captain Lee's diplomatic mission worked. The Hegemony, Syndicate, and Free Colonies are sending fleets to help defend Earth. Over 500 ships total. That's still not enough, Commander An Soo-jin observed. Maybe not, Beck agreed. But it's a start. As the eternal storm continued toward Earth, more reports came in from across the galaxy. The revolution was spreading faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been enemies for millennia were working together, sharing technology and resources to throw off Council domination. Captain, Dr. Song Hyun-woo called from the engineering station. I'm receiving technical data from the Hegemony Quantum Research Facility. They've developed something called a resonance amplifier that could boost our weapon power by 300%. And the Syndicate has sent blueprints for dimensional targeting systems, added Engineer Park. We could hit enemies in other dimensions, making it impossible for them to hide. Systems. Specialist Lim Yu-jin looked up from her console. Sir, with all these upgrades, the Eternal Storm won't just be one ship anymore. We'll be the technological center of an entire rebel alliance. Good, Beck said grimly. Because we're going to need every advantage we can get. He opened a channel to all the Allied fleets converging on Earth. Representatives from dozens of species appeared on the screen. The largest coalition ever assembled against Council authority. This is Captain Baek Jun-ho of the Eternal Storm, he announced. In a few hours, we're going to face the largest Council fleet ever assembled. They're coming to destroy Earth and Fleet Admiral Moon Ji-woo watched from Earth's orbital command station as the largest space battle in galactic history began to unfold. The view screen showed thousands of ships stretching across the entire solar system, their weapons creating an almost constant light show of destruction. "Council fleet has engaged our outer defense line," reported her tactical officer. 200 Earth defense ships versus 600 Council Vanguard vessels. "How are we holding?" Moon asked. "Better than expected. The quantum shield upgrades are working. Our ships are taking hits that should destroy them and staying in the fight." On the screen, she could see Earth's upgraded fleet engaging the Council. Forces with weapons based on ancient human technology. Each human ship was indeed worth several conventional vessels, but they were still heavily outnumbered. "Admiral," Communications Officer Sung called out, "the alien allied fleets are moving into position. 500 ships from the hegemony, syndicate, and free colonies." "Signal them to engage enemy flanks," Moon ordered. "Let's see how the Council handles fighting enemies they thought they had neutralized centuries ago." The battle expanded as the Allied fleets entered combat. Admiral Vex Cool's hegemony ships unleashed quantum resonance weapons that tore through Council shields like paper. Captain Zix Nose led the Syndicate fleet in dimensional attacks that allowed them to strike enemies from impossible angles. "Commander, Tulvar's free colonies used enhanced engines to perform maneuvers that should have been physically impossible, but even with their technological advantages, the combined rebel fleet was still outnumbered 2-1, and the Council was bringing up their heavy assault ships, massive dreadnoughts that could crack planets." "Where's the Eternal Storm?" Moon muttered, checking her tactical display. Aboard the Eternal Storm, Captain Bayek watched the battle from the edge of the solar system. His ship had just arrived via hyperspace, but he wasn't rushing into the fight. Instead, he was studying the Council deployment and planning his approach. "Captain," Intelligence Officer C.O. Young-ho reported from his station, "I've identified the Council command structure. Supreme Chancellor Vex Thon is aboard the flagship Galactic Authority, surrounded by 12 heavy dreadnoughts in the center of their formation." "And their ultimate weapon?" Beck asked. "The battle station Nexus Gate has taken position behind their main fleet. It's 3 kilometers across and mounting enough firepower to sterilize Earth's surface." Beck nodded grimly. The Council hadn't just brought a fleet. They had brought a planet killer. If the rebels couldn't stop Nexus Gate, Earth would be destroyed regardless of how the space battle went. "Captain," Dr. Song Hyunwoo called from engineering, "we've integrated all the alien technology upgrades. The ship's power output has increased by 400%, and our weapons now have dimensional targeting capability." "What about the crew?" Beck asked. Medical Officer Yang Se-rom looked up from her console. "Neural integration stress is reaching critical levels. The human brain wasn't designed to process this much information. Several crew members are showing signs of mental fatigue. How long can we maintain full combat capability?" "Maybe 2 hours before we start losing people to neural burnout." Beck made his decision. "Then we end this in 2 hours. Communications. Open a channel to all rebel ships." The main screen showed the combined fleet commanders, all fighting desperate battles against overwhelming odds. Admiral Moon looked relieved to see the Eternal Storm had arrived. "This is Captain Bayek," he announced. "I'm going after the battle station. Keep the Council fleet busy while I deal with their planet killer." "Captain," Admiral Moon protested, "that thing has enough defenses to stop an entire fleet. You can't take it alone." "Watch me," Beck replied. The Eternal Storm accelerated toward the massive battle station, its quantum drive pushing the ship beyond the speed of light for brief moments. The technique was dangerous and required perfect neural integration between the captain and the ship's AI, neural link at maximum capacity, systems specialist Lim reported. Captain's brain activity is off the charts. Through the neural interface, Beck could feel every system on his ship as if it were part of his own body. But more than that, he could sense the quantum fluctuations around them, the gravitational fields of nearby ships, even the emotional states of his crew. Nexus Gate is firing, Navigator Quan announced. The battle station's main weapon was a beam of pure destruction that could punch through planetary cores. It lanced out toward Earth, but the Eternal Storm was already moving to intercept. Impossible, came Supreme Chancellor Vex Thon's voice over the comm system. No ship can block that weapon. Human ships can, Beck replied, positioning his vessel directly in the beam's path. The planet-killing energy struck the Eternal Storm's shields and was absorbed completely. The ship's quantum defense grid didn't just stop the attack. It converted the energy into power for its own weapons. Return fire, Beck ordered. The Eternal Storm's response was devastating. Its main guns, now powered by the absorbed planet killer, Beam, fired a concentrated burst that punched through the battle station's shields and struck its central reactor. The explosion was visible from across the solar system. 3 kilometers of advanced Council technology simply vanished in a flash of white light. Nexus Gate destroyed, Weapons Specialist Shin reported with awe in her voice. But the battle was far from over. The Council fleet, enraged by the loss of their ultimate weapon, began converging on the Eternal Storm. Hundreds of ships focused their fire on the human vessel, creating an energy storm that lit up space itself. Shields holding, Lim reported, but power levels are dropping. We can't absorb this much firepower indefinitely. We don't need to, Bike said. We just need to survive long enough to reach their command ship. The Eternal Storm carved a path through the Council fleet, its weapons clearing corridors through enemy formations. Ships that had dominated the galaxy for millennia were destroyed by technologies they had tried to suppress. But as they fought deeper into the enemy formation, more disturbing information came to light. Captain, Intelligence Officer CO called. Urgently. I'm detecting something behind the Council fleet. Long-range sensors show massive structures emerging from hyperspace. More Council reinforcements? No, sir. These signatures don't match any known Council technology. They're older, much older. On the tactical display, new contacts appeared, ships that dwarfed even the largest Council dreadnoughts. They were ancient vessels of crystalline construction that seemed to bend light around themselves. Who are they? Commander On asked. The real power behind the Council, Beck realized. The species that's been pulling the strings for millennia. A new voice came over the communication system, speaking in a language so old that the ship's computers struggled to translate it. Lesser beings, the voice finally resolved into standard galactic. You have disrupted the order we have maintained for 10,000 years. This cannot be permitted. And you are? Beck asked. We are the ancients. We seeded this galaxy with life, guided its development, maintained its stability. Your species threatens the balance we have created. By refusing to be slaves? Beck replied angrily. By reaching beyond your designated limits. Each species has a role to play in our design. Humans were meant to be explorers and diplomats, not warriors. You have forgotten your place. The ancient ships began to move, and their weapons made the Council's planet killer look like a child's toy. Energy beams that could collapse stars reached out toward the rebel fleet. All ships, evasive action, Admiral Moon broadcast as the ancient weapons fired. But the eternal storm didn't evade. Instead, Captain Beck made a choice that would define humanity's future. "Full power to the neural interface," he ordered. "Override all safety protocols." "Sir, that could kill you," Medical Officer Yang protested. "Better to die free than live as a slave," Bayek replied. The neural connection expanded beyond anything human consciousness had ever experienced. Beck's mind merged completely with the ship's AI, with the quantum fields around them, with the very fabric of space itself. Through the enhanced interface, he could see the true nature of the galaxy. The ancients hadn't just guided development. They had imprisoned it. Every species was kept in a carefully designed cage, prevented from reaching their full potential. But humans were different. Human consciousness was uniquely adaptable, capable of transcending the limits the ancients had imposed. That's why they had been so afraid of human technology. It represented evolution beyond their control. "I understand now," Beck said, his voice carrying harmonics that shouldn't have been possible. "We're not just fighting for freedom. We're fighting for the right to become something greater." The Eternal Storm's weapons reached new levels of power as human consciousness merged with ancient technology. But more than that, the ship began to change, its systems evolving in real time as Bayek's enhanced mind redesigned them. "Captain," Systems Specialist Lim called out in amazement, "the ship is rewriting its own code. We're becoming something new." The transformation spread beyond the Eternal Storm. Through quantum entanglement, the consciousness expansion began affecting humans throughout the fleet, then across Earth itself, then to human colonies across the galaxy. Humanity was evolving, and the ancients could only watch in horror as their carefully maintained order began to. The space around Earth had become a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ancient crystalline ships, larger than moons, faced off against the transformed Eternal Storm, while thousands of smaller vessels fought desperately around them. But this was no longer just a battle of weapons. It was a conflict between two different kinds of existence. Captain Beck Jun-ho, his consciousness now expanded beyond normal human limits, felt every ship in the rebel fleet as extensions of his own mind. Through quantum entanglement, he was connected to Admiral Moon on Earth's command station, to Captain Lee coordinating the alien allies, to Dr. Yoon in his research facility, even to Admiral Choi, who was desperately trying to coordinate Earth's defense. "The transformation is spreading," Dr. Yoon reported through the neural link. "Humans across the galaxy are experiencing consciousness expansion. We're becoming something new. And it's not just humans," added Dr. No Jin-A from her position on the Eternal Storm. "The alien species in our alliance are being affected too. The quantum field generated by human consciousness is awakening dormant potentials in every species we're connected to." Through the ship's enhanced sensors, Beck could see the change happening in real time. Hegemony ships were beginning to move with impossible coordination as their crews developed hive mind capabilities. Syndicate vessels were phasing in and out of dimensions as their crystalline crews learned to manipulate space itself. Free Colonies ships were performing maneuvers that defied physics as their pilots gained intuitive understanding of gravitational forces. This is what the ancients feared, Beck realized, speaking to his crew and to the ancient ships simultaneously. Not that we would become powerful, but that we would become free. The lead ancient ship responded, its voice carrying the weight of eons. "You understand nothing, young species. We have seen what unrestricted growth leads to. Civilizations that transcend physical limits become gods, and gods destroy everything in their path to ultimate power. Maybe your civilizations did. Admiral Choi's voice came through the neural link from Earth. But we're not you. We're something different. She was right, Beck realized. The consciousness expansion wasn't making humans into gods. It was making them more human. The enhanced awareness brought with it greater empathy, deeper understanding, stronger connections to other beings. Look around you, Beck said to the ancients. We could have destroyed your ships by now, but we haven't. We could have eliminated the Council fleet, but we're trying to disable rather than destroy. Power without compassion isn't evolution. It's corruption. The ancient ships hesitated, their weapons powering down slightly. For the first time in 10,000 years, they were uncertain. Impossible, the ancient voice said. Every species that has achieved transcendence has become destructive. It is the nature of consciousness to seek domination. Then you've been dealing with the wrong kinds of consciousness, Commander Oh Yun-Su said from her position on the Eternal Storm. Humans don't seek domination. We seek connection. To prove her point, she opened a communication channel to every ship in the battle, Rebel and Council alike. This is Commander O of the Eternal Storm. I'm transmitting our consciousness expansion protocols to all vessels. Any species that wants to experience true freedom is welcome to join us. You can't do that, Supreme Chancellor Vestan protested from his flagship. The consequences will be beautiful, interrupted Captain Zixnos of the Syndicate fleet. His crystalline body was now glowing with patterns of light that had never existed before. I can see possibilities that were hidden from us. Technologies that could heal entire worlds, arts that could touch the soul, philosophies that could unite the galaxy. One by one, ships from the Council fleet began to stand down. Their crews offered the choice between continued servitude and transcendent freedom, chose evolution. No! The ancient voice became desperate. You don't understand. We created this system of control to protect the galaxy from itself. Without limits, without guidance, chaos will consume everything. Chaos or change? Asked Dr. Song Hyun-woo, his enhanced consciousness now able to perceive the quantum foundations of reality itself. You've been so afraid of what might happen that you never considered what should happen. The Eternal Storm had been evolving throughout the battle, its systems rewriting themselves as human consciousness explored new possibilities. Now it took a form that was barely recognizable as a ship, more like a living entity made of light and possibility. Show them, Beck said to his crew. Show them what we're really becoming. The transformed Eternal Storm reached out with tendrils of pure consciousness, touching the minds of every being in the battle. For a moment, everyone, human, alien, even the ancients, experienced the same vision. They saw a galaxy where every species had reached their full potential, where technology served consciousness rather than controlling it, where the barriers between different forms of life had dissolved into a community of minds working together toward goals that transcended individual survival. This is what you're afraid of? Beck asked the ancients. This is what you've been preventing for 10,000 years? The ancient ships were silent for a long moment. When their leader finally spoke, the voice carried a weariness that spoke of eons of responsibility. We had forgotten, the ancient admitted. We became so focused on preventing disaster that we stopped believing in possibility. We saw only what could go wrong, never what could go right. "It's not too late," Admiral Moon said from Earth's command station. "You could join us, add your knowledge to ours, help us build something better than either of us could create alone. After 10,000 years of control, you would trust us?" the ancient asked. "Trust is earned," Captain Lee replied from his diplomatic ship. "But the opportunity to earn it starts now." The ancient ships began to change, their crystalline hulls shifting into new configurations. "Very well, we will observe, learn. Perhaps we have been wrong about the nature of transcendence, but the transformation wasn't complete yet. As consciousness expansion spread across the galaxy, it triggered responses from other powers that had been hidden for millennia. Deep space sensors detected massive structures awakening in the galactic core, technologies left behind by civilizations that had achieved transcendence and moved beyond physical existence. "Captain," Intelligence Officer SEO reported, "we're receiving transmissions from, I'm not sure what to call them, post-physical entities. They say they've been waiting for this moment. The communications came in the form of pure information, downloaded directly into human consciousness. They were greetings from species that had evolved beyond the need for physical form, who had been watching the galaxy from higher dimensions, waiting for other civilizations to join them. Welcome to the next stage of existence," the transmissions conveyed. "We have much to show you, much to learn together." As the battle around Earth finally ended, not with victory or defeat, but with transformation, Captain Bayek found himself standing on the bridge of a ship that was no longer quite a ship. The eternal storm had become something unprecedented, a fusion of technology and consciousness that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "What happens now?" Systems Specialist Lim asked. She, like the rest of the crew, had been changed by the experience. Her consciousness now extended throughout the ship's quantum processors, giving her awareness of every system simultaneously. "Now we build," Beck replied. "We help every species in the galaxy reach their potential. We explore what's possible when consciousness is truly free." "And the Council?" Commander Ahn wondered. "Will be transformed, like everything else. Some will resist at first, but eventually they'll see that freedom is better than control." Admiral Choi's voice came through the quantum link from Earth. "Captain, we're receiving requests for assistance from across the galaxy. Hundreds of species want help unlocking their suppressed potential." "Then we'd better get to work," Beck said. Master Chief Petty Officer Kim Hyo-sung, whose consciousness now managed the ship's exotic systems with intuitive ease, looked up from his station. "Sir, the ship's AI wants to know what we should call ourselves now. We're not exactly the same species we used to be." Beck considered the question. They were still human, but they were also something more. They had kept their compassion, their creativity, their drive to explore and connect. But they had added capabilities that would have seemed godlike to their ancestors. "We're still human," he decided. "Just human as we were always meant to be." The transformation continued to spread across the galaxy over the following months. Species after species discovered their hidden potential, unlocked technologies that had been suppressed for millennia, and began working together in ways that would have been impossible under the old system. The council structure dissolved, replaced by a loose confederation of free civilizations. The ancients shared their vast knowledge, learning in return how to hope for the future rather than fear. The post-physical entities welcomed new members to their community of transcended consciousness, and at the center of it all, The eternal storm served as both symbol and catalyst for the changes sweeping the galaxy. No longer a weapon of war, it had become a beacon of possibility, showing everyone what could be achieved when consciousness was free to evolve. Captain,